Everything that you want is just an excuse for an emotion that you're trying to feel. And then by feeling that emotion, you won't then need that external thing anymore. And that's when it comes. That is the law of detachment. And you're probably thinking, you're nuts. How do you just feel that feeling then? How do you detach and manifest things? And I was very confused about this at first too, because when I began going down this journey in this rabbit hole of understanding neuroscience and the law of attraction and manifestation, and I got really into it, I was also like, why does this work for some things and not other things for me? And it's because my body wouldn't allow me to feel those certain feelings. So I had to learn and teach it how to do that and understand why it was blocking that. Because it's way easier said than done by just being like, oh, just feel like wealth and abundance, and then the money will come to you. But if your body is caught in this loop and in this trauma response of lack or of whatever you probably experienced, either in your childhood or what your parents experienced around money or what your grandparents experienced around money, then that is a generational nervous system loop that's going on. And it's important to be aware of this and to understand, just to be aware of like where the loops are. And it's funny because like they're connected to a belief system. And I know often so many times people are like, oh, just get to the bottom of your belief systems and then you'll figure it out and you'll solve it. But that's just the logical side of it. When you bring up a belief system, there's always an emotion attached to it. And that is your way in. That is your doorway. That is the stuck energy. That is the thing that's not letting you feel the abundant emotion. Because there's something inside that is there. That's probably been there for a really, really long time. So, getting to that is, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. Essentially, from ages 1 to 7, your brainwaves were in theta, absorbing everything in your environment, all of your belief systems, your feelings, your emotions about life, your emotions about money, anything that your parents believed, spoke, said, embodied, felt about themselves or to you got absorbed into your mind, body, nervous system. And that is where your programming comes from. That's where all of your loops come from. That is why it can feel so hard to change when you want to change, but you've been doing something for so long that it's an ingrained loop in your mind now, and it feels impossible to get out of. And then sometimes maybe you'll try to use willpower and get yourself to do something, and maybe you do it for like 2 weeks straight, but then we always end up back where we started, because willpower alone does not fix this. It doesn't help. So then how do you allow yourself to feel a new feeling and create change your belief systems, change your life? Well, you have to get back down to the state that you picked up all of that programming in. And when are we ever in theta? Because as adults, we're not in that all day, every day, like we were as kids when we were absorbing. We're basically in theta when it's like that moment right before we fall asleep and the moment right before we wake up. Our brainwaves are transitioning. And I figured out how to get to theta, and that is where you can reinstall and input new emotions and beliefs. So the logic plus the emotion together, not just the belief systems. You need to have the emotional embodiment as well, because again, if everything that you want is just an excuse for an emotion that you're trying to feel, think about the thing that you want so badly right now. And then think about the feeling that it will give you once you have it. How are you going to feel? Is it whole, abundant, free, love? And because we think we're separate from these feelings, we go out and we chase them externally in other things. We try to get these things from other people, or we try to use willpower and try really hard to make things happen externally so then we can finally feel good inside. Once I get this thing, then I'll be happy. We have it so backwards. You just need to essentially, if you're unhappy with the emotions that your body is currently firing on, and we all have them because we're human and it's just programming, and if you want to change that, then essentially getting back down to theta and teaching your body and nervous system a new life, visualizing a whole new world, feeling what it feels like. But you can really only do that in theta is when it starts to rewire your brain and the neurons and the neural connections in your brain. And then as you begin to do that, you start noticing in your external reality, so many shifts start to happen. It's small at first because, like I said in my previous videos, it's like your current mind is running off of a freeway, a super highway of the path of least resistance. And it knows that if it feels and thinks in this way, even if it's not good for you, even if it's rooted in lack or scarcity or anxiety like mine was, your brain and your body and your mind are just gonna want to keep going in that direction. If you want to unprogram that, get into the state of theta and teach your body and your mind a new way, shift it into a different reality, then essentially you are going through a small patch of grass right off the highway. And at first there's going to be a lot of tall plants and bushes that you have to like push through, but then every time you go through it, it gets easier and easier and easier. So consistency is key. It's so key for that. And that is really what can help you embody new feelings. The more you teach your body emotionally that it's safe to exist in that feeling, your reality changes. Your reality literally starts to shift in front of your eyes because it starts inside. And then it starts to shift outside. And then you realize you are a creator in any way that you want to be. And that right now we're kind of just stuck in the emotions we were given and in the emotional reactions that we've known our whole entire lives. And sometimes we don't even know ourselves apart from those emotions. I didn't know myself apart from anxiety. That was my baseline state. So even becoming aware that I was even running on a program of anxiety, I only became aware of that when I began to meditate, which means to become familiar with, which also brings your brainwave states back down to theta. And then for a quick 5 minutes, I was finally disconnected from the character I had been playing my entire life. I was no longer me with anxiety. I was watching the thoughts. And from that perspective of watching it, it wasn't me anymore, and I wasn't identifying with it. I was apart from it, and that in itself calmed my body down like that. And it started to emotionally release. The more I looked at it, the more I allowed, the more I had awareness for it, it started to emotionally release that feeling that had been stuck in my body for years. And then as that emotionally released, there was more clarity. My baseline state was more clear. I'm like, okay, I want to build into a life of peace now. That is what I desire. I want a life of peace. So I began embodying from that clarity state the emotions of peace. And when this started changing, everything started changing because I realized I could apply this to anything. I could apply this to my skin breakouts that were constantly happening. I could apply this to my constant chronic anxiety. I could also apply this to, I couldn't poop my whole life. I had IBS. I was like, okay, I'm going to see what is the belief system in the way and the emotion that is keeping me from not being able to shit. And there was a lot of stuck emotion there, which was also interlinked with my anxiety. So as I worked on both, it started to heal. It started to get better. I was like, okay, I'm going to apply this to My job. I want to make aligned wealth in a peaceful, abundant, aligned way. And then you can use this formula for literally anything that you want to manifest in your entire life. And that's why I love it so much. That's why it's so powerful, because you're essentially just getting back down to the state where you picked up all of your belief systems in. And if you don't like some of those belief systems that your life is running on, you can change them and make that change. But it just takes two things, which is consistency and grace for your past self. Not hating the old self, not hating the old thoughts, not hating the old programming, not being mad at who gave it to you. And even if you are angry, allowing that anger to come up, because there might be a lot. I know there's a lot in me. There's a lot of stuck resentment, anger, irritation was the main one. Just constantly irritated at life. And my whole life was running on that. I didn't even know it until I became aware of it. I finally got the physical copy of, I don't know why I'm holding my eyebrow pencil, Safe to Receive. Why your nervous system rejects your dream life and essentially how to fix it. Essentially what I just talked about in this entire video, and way more neuroscience in it, personal stories, and basically a step-by-step book guide on how to apply this to literally anything in your entire life. I wrote this in complete presence, with my heart open, with the intent of helping my past self that would have needed this guide the most, considering where she came from. Immense amounts of anxiety, not being able to go outside, not being able to be alone, not being able to make money in alignment, breakouts on my skin 24/7, and so many other things. I feel like I've used this method and with this awareness to change everything I've wanted to change in my life. And I've kept what I've wanted to keep too, so it's not all bad. Not all programming is a bad thing. It's more so just whatever you want to change, you can. And I don't know, I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I love doing it. That's why I talk about it on here a lot. So let me know if you have any questions. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video.